Hey everyone, this is Athagos, and it's finally that time again. Today I'm bringing you the best solo experiences in my board game collection, 2023 edition. As usual, let me set the ground rules and add a few disclaimers. I'm only talking about games I have played enough to actually place them into this list. There are some games I just haven't played often enough yet to actually rank them. Also, I haven't played all games in existence. Shocker, I know. So, there might be the one game you insist needs to be part of this list, but I just don't know it well enough. Last but not least, we all have different tastes and preferences. And instead of arguing about that, let us use that in a positive way. Let me know the games with solo experiences you enjoy the most. Maybe you'll be able to suggest a game I will enjoy a lot. On screen you can see a few honorable mentions, games that I enjoy a lot solo, but that either didn't quite make the list or need to get to the table more often first. Alright, enough talk, let's now get into the list. Number 31 is Bullet. I had to include it as the number 31 spot because it is a really good game. It just didn't quite make the top 30 this year. This is such a unique game where you need to clear so-called bullets via patterns in this unique and highly asymmetric game. I enjoy the solo and cooperative boss modes the most. One Deck Dungeon. This game has been one of my favorites for quite a long time now. It is essentially a dungeon crawler in a really small package where you chuck a larger number of dice to defeat enemies and overcome traps by placing those dice on these little boxes here while your hero keeps getting stronger. A great game. The next game on this list is Meadow. First of all, this is such a beautiful game. But the gameplay is really solid as well. You are trying to collect sets of cards by fulfilling the requirements that are met by other cards you place in your tableau. Such a calming and still quite strategic game. I highly recommend this. Next up is Sylvion, the first game of the Oniverse series on this list. Yes, there will be more. Sylvion can be described as a card-driven tower defense game where you try to extinguish the fire that is moving towards your side of the tableau. Don't let the beautiful art by Elise Precis fool you. This is not an easy game to beat, and the included expansions make the game even better. Floriferous is a game most people I played with immediately love. It is a really pretty set collection game where the row you draft a card from matters greatly since it determines your position in the next round. Do you rather want a card that helps you now or take a different one that lets you draft a card first next round? A simple game with a lot of interesting decisions and a great theme. Rank 26 on my solo list is Parks. This game is incredibly beautiful, has amazing components, offers very fun mechanisms and has a great insert. And the solo mode is really well done. You play the way you also do in a multiplayer game. Controlling the AI's ranches is very easy and does not distract you from your own game. A great game for multiplayer as well as solo games. Next up is For Northwood. Have you ever asked yourself how a solo trick-taking game would work? Well, this game answers that. It actually works really well, using specific numbers of tricks you need to reach, while you have specific powers to help you achieve that. This game has a lot of variability and even a small campaign. The look may be a bit too cutesy, but it's a really good game. Block by Block had been on my list for a long time. And finally I managed to snag a copy, and boy do I like this. First of all, the theme is really unique. You control factions of revolutionaries fighting the police to liberate the city. And this works really well in this cooperative game. The game can run a bit longer and is quite tough to win, but really rewarding when you do. What a great game. Number 23 is Castellion, the next Oniverse game on my list. I thoroughly enjoy this one. This is a tile-laying game where you build up parts of a castle as defense against monsters. This game especially shines when you go beyond the introductory level and play the base game. Then each tile also gains a special ability. This is a very smooth game, again with great artwork by Elise Precis. The next game on the list is Earth. This game was hyped up quite a bit, and when it finally was released, opinions were quite split on it. I personally thoroughly enjoy it. It is an engaging tableau builder that has a few unique mechanisms, most notably the ability to do the same action as the active player, just weaker, and the fact that abilities trigger for everyone each turn. A very satisfying game with a nice theme. Rank 21 is Stellarion, another game in the Oniverse series. This is the newest entry and it is so good. This is a deck management game where you have 8 decks you know the contents of and you're trying to manage abilities in such a way that you have the right cards available at the right time. And again, the included expansions make this even better. What an amazing game. The first game in the top 20 is Onirim. Yep, another game in the Oniverse series and currently my favorite one. This one is a hand management game where you try to arrange colored cards in such a way that you can gather the 8 door cards before the deck runs out. But the Nightmare cards make this quite hard on you. If you want to dive into the Oniverse series, this is probably the best game to start with. Rank 19 is Spirit Island, one of the best cooperative games ever. I also like to play it solo as well. In essence, this is about settlers invading an island, but this time you're not the invaders, but the spirits who defend against the unwanted guests. Each spirit has completely different cards and abilities, which makes the game strategic, exciting, and challenging to win. Next up is Everdell, one of the most beautiful games in existence. But it's also a really good game. It's a worker placement game where you are building up a tableau of cards, building up a small engine. The solo mode here is done very well. You play the game as usual and controlling the AI is very easy. Additionally, the solo mode has 3 different difficulty settings that vary greatly in difficulty. Definitely a winner. Number 17 is Cascadia, one of my most favorite gateway games ever. It is quick and easy to teach, but despite its simplicity, it has a really tactical and puzzly gameplay. It never is too demanding, but always engaging. I thoroughly love this game and its solo mode is really well made. Additionally, the game has achievements as well as a family mode. I highly recommend this one for every board game collection. Role Player is my number 16. This is a game that I fell in love with pretty much instantly. It is a dice placement game where numbers as well as colors matter, and it is all done with a tabletop role-playing theme. You are essentially creating a hero, including backstory, alignment, and class. It is quite thematic, very geeky, and even better with at least one expansion. And it also works great solo. We are halfway through the list. At rank 15 is Dragons of Etchinstone. This game is simply amazing. It is an adventure game where you travel through 4 regions, overcoming enemies and obstacles in order to face and defeat the dragon at the very end. But the twist here is, not only does the game consist of only 18 cards, but it also can be played in your hand without the need for a playing surface. This is such an amazing design. Incredible. Next up is Numsters, another 18 card game that can also be played in your hand, at least kind of. While it is not as deep, interesting and challenging as Dragons of Etchinstone, it has the advantage that it has very minimal rules and can be played in just 5 to 10 minutes. Also, it is highly addictive. It happens quite often that I play 3 or 4 or 5 or even 10 games back to back. A really good design with adorable artwork. Paperback Adventures has been in my collection for a while, but it took a while for it to actually hit the table often enough. And that is a shame, because it is a really good solo word game with a minor deck building aspect. To play an entire game with 3 books takes a few hours, but you can take a break after each book to play it in smaller bursts. A really unique game. Next up is Cthulhu Death May Die. This is a game with a high luck factor and really crazy gameplay mechanisms, but it is such a fun dice chucker. It's totally overproduced, but it does have a good table presence. The gameplay is really unique that makes you increase your insanity, which inches you closer to defeat, but also makes you stronger at the same time. This is a really cool one. Rank 11 is Distilled, a game that is pretty pricey and not easy to get, but I'm really glad I backed it. In this game you distill your own alcohol, and the game is very thematic, since you can see that the designers know the distilling process and have implemented it quite well. The game has great components and works well at all player counts. And yes, it also plays great solo. We are now entering the top 10 for this year with Dawn of the Zeds, a game I keep talking about a lot. I absolutely love this one. It doesn't hit the table often because it's long and complex, but when it does get played, it offers an experience no other game does. It's exciting, tense, and absolutely amazing. Next up is Black Angel. A lot of people don't agree with me, but I like to call this the magnum opus of Sébastien Dujardin. This game is great. It is quite complex and has a lot of moving parts, but it feels like a lot of different puzzles combined that work well together. There are always so many decisions to make, and that's what I love in a good board game. The next game is the Artemis Project. Yes, I like dice placement games, and this is one of my most favorite ones. This one has a really high player interaction that is a bit mean, but it is so well implemented. Essentially, you're able to push people down specific tracks so they receive less rewards, but you can also be pushed down. It is really tactical and the solo mode works extraordinarily well. It's a Wonderful World is a game I have played on my channel several times, and there's a good reason for it. It has really simple rules, but still is really tactical and demands a lot of thought. Yes, it can cause analysis paralysis if you let it, but I still really enjoy it. The solo scenarios work as well as the multiplayer mode. I highly suggest this to anyone enjoying drafting and optimization games. Also, I love the cynical theme in this one. Lands of Gelder still is my most favorite story-based game. Yes, it does not have real progression or loot-based systems, but the narratives are engaging and the world is really immersive. This is a real gem. Fun fact, Sir Thekos can actually be found in this game. Isn't that awesome? Warp's Edge was my number 1 last year, and it's still in my top 5 because it is a great back builder. In this game, you're trying to defeat a mothership with tokens you amass by defeating enemy ships. This game is tough to win but really engaging. Definitely a keeper. Wingspan. Long-time viewers of my channel know how much I love this game. And while I prefer the multiplayer mode, the solo mode is really robust. The game has a great theme, amazing components and very engaging gameplay. This is a game with medium complexity, but it's so elegantly designed that you can also play it with people who have less experience with board games. What an amazing game. We are now entering the top 3, and the next game is The Castles of Burgundy. While I have loved this game for a while, the original solo mode was fine. But with the new edition by Awakened Realms, the game has received a new solo mode that now really feels like you're playing against a real opponent. This solo mode is just great and has really improved the solo experience of this game. What an amazing upgrade. But the original solo mode is still worth checking out. Hexplored is probably the newest game on my list. But wow, this one is stunning. Essentially, you're choosing a character and preparing for the inevitable boss fight by traversing the lands, fulfilling quests and defeating enemies. But the greatest aspect about this game is the huge roster of different characters and amazing progression. You become really strong towards the end of the game. I love this game. And here's my number 1, Aeon's End. I have loved this game for years, but it has slowly made its way up to the number 1 spot over the years. It's great multiplayer, but it also works really well solo. It is a really well designed deck builder that never runs out of content. There's already so much content for it. It's pretty crazy. I absolutely love this game. And that wraps up my 31 most favorite solo board game experiences in my collection. But now it's your turn. What are your most favorite games that can be played solo? Let me know in the comments, and also feel free to respond to other comments. Let's all have some cool conversations down there. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for your support. That means the world to me. I especially want to thank my patrons who are generously supporting me on Patreon. The biggest thanks go out to Thakono, who's currently my biggest supporter. Thank you so much for that. You know the drill. You can also support me by heading over to Patreon. In general, I'm always thankful for a like, comment and especially a subscription. You can also join my Discord server if you'd like to hang out with me and my amazing community. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the very next video or on my Discord server. Take care everyone, stay safe and cheers.